would just draw the same circle on the page over and over again, because that means that he can measure that circle in the size that he wants. And when I'm warming up, there are times that I'll do this too. I'll just get a feel for how big the page is. Just making a mess of things generally. But also I'll draw these kind of circles. I'll get used to drawing a circle that's as big as a boat. I'll get something that's going 3/4 of it, different sizes, because I need to be able to have that control. And this is like the most boring stuff, it's just circles. But if I layer enough of these, you're actually starting to get into a different kind of art piece too. You're getting into like abstracts and stuff. Even just by warming up with this kind of stuff, you're already creating art. So don't be afraid to do this just to understand your ability to measure, because you'll get some really beautiful stuff out of it too. What Jeannie's working on here though is classical set of proportions for the human body, and we definitely never skip this. So let's get into it. So the main reason for having a good sense of drawing this kind of circle is that you can also get used to drawing an oval once you get used to these kind of curves. And notice this is not a first time perfect kind of thing. I'm going over it a lot. None of these circles are really perfect. But it's just the idea that you're getting the right width from here. This is like construction for a circle. I'm slowly building it up. But the basic measure for the human body is usually done in heads. There's a sub-measure that I also kind of teach, which is like torso to legs. But heads is where it starts. You can't get a good sense of a torso without a good sense of a head. So I'd love to teach that first, but it's a shortcut. So we'll start with the heads. So when you start with the heads, you're getting the sense of the oval, and then you'll be able to measure for the leg how much will that be. So she should be just about done. Oh, sure. So let's deconstruct this then, right? We've got the one height for the head, and if I keep measuring that down, then I should get to about 7.5 heads.
My guys are 8.
8, okay. 8
but it doesn't really matter. I mean, ultimately, the point is that okay, so if the head is the measuring unit, your character's like a 7, someone like an 8, but the point is that your unit is yours. Like there is no, I'm not saying that every head unit needs to be exactly 1.5 inches, you know what I mean? Like your head unit is what you make of it, but you use that unit to measure your body. So, and this could be 7, it could be 8, I mean, it depends on what you do yourself, basically.
Okay. So, we're in a rush here, we kind of squeeze things in, but definitely this is what I would point out first, is that the head comes to here, and then usually the neck is going to be descending into this pit of the neck, like right about here. And in martial arts, this is a really cool place to punch people. That's a different class. So from here, at this point, what I've already done is here's a head, and I've done a half head under the neck. One head down from that is the belly button, and one head down from that is the crotch. Okay? 1, 2, 3. From there, what we actually do is we start measuring the leg from above the crotch, because my crotch is here, but if I lift my leg, this pivot point is actually up here. So you've got to start measuring from there in case your character has their leg out to the side. So as Jeannie had done in construction, right, when you've got the head here, the spine dropping to here, start your leg out to the side, because the center line of the body here is in between the center lines for the legs. So from here, it's a little bit easier to measure. The hip to the knee is going to be about 2 heads, and then the knee to the bottom of the foot should be about 2 heads. So this is where I can say to you now, here's the cheat, right? If your torso is about 2 heads in here, then that's the same length as the 2 heads for your thigh to knee, and the 2 heads for your thigh to foot. So in a sense, here's like 6. You can fold it in 3 on top of this. And as a quick demo.
And like to add to that, yeah, so even like most people are proportioned properly. I mean, occasionally you meet the guy with really long arms or something here. I mean, of course everyone is different, but like what Ian was saying, we're going over the very basics. And like what I said earlier, when you guys understand the basics, then you can break them. You know what I mean? If you just start breaking them, you might get like, you know, it's not like a human, it might be like a gorilla or something, you know? It's you know, or you make like, get a woman with like ostrich legs. I mean, you know, like I said, but ultimately, if you make that choice on purpose, like, you know, if you choose to draw your women with huge hips or, you know, your dudes with big arms, I mean, that's your prerogative. But like I said, the foundation. So
there's a magic in consistency. There really is. I remember a good friend of mine who I met online, and I was, you know, just see all their art from, I think when she was like 11 or 12 years old, and her style has never changed, ever. But at the same time, her proportions have never changed. And after a while, you learn to read it. But that's only good if you've already been reading that style for a long time. When you're drawing something that almost everybody knows intuitively from seeing people around them all the time, that's when it pays to know what the proportions are. So there's this magic, right? I was telling you, the torso down to the knees. You can do that too. It's the same measure in there. From there, it's a nice time to measure the arms. So the arm drops down right down to the bottom of the crotch, and the armpit, or sorry, the elbow is right above the belly button, which I won't show you today. I didn't shave. So there's this point here for the beginning of that. Drops down to the crotch, and then the elbows in between. And there's a whole bunch of muscle and stuff going on here connecting to the neck. So even though I've drawn this half point down here, that it really is seated kind of in between a lot of muscle that builds up here. So this is coming kind of from halfway down and bridging down.
You guys see that okay? Yeah.
So some cardinal points would be the head. One head measure, pit of the neck, where the shoulder begins.
So in this case, the girl is called guy. It's just to show you, you know, to have a uniform. Generally, guys are taller than girls. Generally, you know. So I mean, most characters are drawn that way. But like I said, you don't have to follow that at all. You know, just have to understand the basics. You know.
But the same rules are being followed. You see the hand that drops down to the crotch level. I think that Jeannie and I definitely bend the rule about leg length.
I like longer legs personally.
Yeah, especially the clamp,
yeah. So I mean, so yeah, you can do it.
But it's like slightly longer.
Yeah, but the difference, the thing is though, is that if you like, people can tell. Like if you're just winging it, there's a difference between winging it and like doing it on purpose. Like basically, that's called when you dramatize it. You know, you
exaggerate.
What's the word? Exaggerate. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to think of exaggerate. But basically, there's a difference, and oftentimes you can tell. So this is why it's important to do the foundation part. So, does this help you at all? A little bit? Yeah, it's good. This answer. You guys have any questions about this in general, about proportion? Not really.